Hi everyone, I'm John C. Morley, the host of the JMOR Tech Talk Show and Inspirations for Your Life. Hey guys, how are you? It is John C. Morley here, serial entrepreneur. Welcome to the JMOR Tech Talk Show. And today is February 7th, 2025. And you know what that means, ladies and gentlemen? Well, we are on Series 4, which you guys know we've been on for quite a few weeks. But the other interesting thing that I think is very interesting to share with you guys is not only that, but we're on, yes, show number 6. That's pretty cool. All right. So this is the show where we talk about all those great things with technology. We educate you, we inform, and we make you alert about things that you probably shouldn't do or that you should do. And we give you lots of information to help you use technology better and smarter. From AI-driven cybercrime crackdowns to groundbreaking tech innovations, this week is pumped with the best JMOR Tech Talk Show stories. So we'll dive into the biggest headlines shaking up the digital world, whether it's the UK making AI-generated child abuse content a crime, Meta's spyware battle, or Vodafone's first satellite video call. We've got it all covered. So just sit back, go get yourself something to eat or drink from the kitchen, whether it's something sweet, whether it's something hot, cold, or maybe it's just a piece of healthy fruit. Whatever it is, go get it and come on back as you tune into the expert insights, bold discussions, and the latest in tech that you won't want to miss. I am your host, John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. I'm a podcast coach and a podcast host, and it's great to be with you. Be sure to check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, inspiring creations, as well as to catch replays of this show and all the other shows that I produce. So you can catch the latest episode within 24 hours of us airing on the audio format, which will be on the podcast networks, which you can obviously find out by visiting believemeachieve.com. So, ladies and gentlemen, this title this week is amazing, right? AI Cybercrime Innovations, the tech shifts you need to know. And so the first thing I want to talk about is, yes, the UK bans the AI-generated child abuse material. The UK has taken a bold step in the fight against crime and the exploitation by becoming the first country to outlaw AI-generated child abuse content. The new law criminalizes the possession, creation, and distribution of explicit AI-generated images of minors, including tools that manipulate real photos. This crackdown comes in response to a 5-fold increase in AI-generated abuse material in the past year, raising concerns about the growing use of AI in cybercrimes. Now, ladies and gentlemen, even if the photo you had was not of someone nude, these AI technologies are able to look at the image and basically remove the clothing and actually show you what they synthesize from what is expected to be there in an adult photo. So I think it's great that they are doing this. I think it's something they should have done a long time ago. But the question is, when will the rest of the U.S., catch up with this? I don't know. My question is when will, let's just say, when will the United States ban AI, child, let's say, material that is explicit? And I don't have an answer for you. So they have had talks in, I believe it was Colorado, that they were going to be criminalizing AI generated or computer edited child sexual abuse material. So this is something that had been ascertained a while back. And so right now, it's been documented that 37 states have enacted the laws that criminalize AI generated or computer edited CSAM, while 13 states and DC have not. More than half of these states were enacted in 2024. And this reflects strong concern by legislators and advocates about the significant increase in the creation, production, and dissemination of these child exploitation materials. The NCMEC, that is the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, reports that in 2023 alone, it received 4,700 reports of CSAM involving generative AI technologies. So a lot of the bad actors are now generating, altering content that is perfectly legitimate just because, well, let's face it, they have something wrong with them. They use parts of images of real children and then they use images of other people, and it's just not right. These are sexually explicit depictions involving children, and if no physical abuse occurs during their creation, it has significant psychological and long-term impacts on the children depicted. Artificially generated or computer-edited CSAM further re-victimize actual child victims as their images are collected from the internet and studied by artificial intelligence tools to create their new images. Now, child predators can also use artificially generated or computer-edited CSAM to extort minors and their families for financial gains. So the question is, what's going on? And I think the real issue is that people have got to get smart and understand that this technology is out there and people are abusing it. So this is why we want to report this to you and let you know that every state should be criminalizing basically any exploitation of the technology of AI to create materials that are not appropriate for anyone to be looking at. All right. Number 2, Meta's WhatsApp exposes spyware attacks. Meta's WhatsApp has uncovered a major spyware attack orchestrated by Israeli firm Paragon Solutions. The attack, which targeted around 90 users, including journalists and civil society members in over 24 countries, used a zero-click hacking method, meaning victims were infected without even opening a message. That's insane. So WhatsApp successfully disrupted the attack, issued a cease and desist to Paragon, and referred affected users to the cybersecurity watchdog Citizen Lab. This case further fuels concerns about spyware misuse against activists and opposition figures. But the question, ladies and gentlemen, is, it's a matter of pointing fingers, right? Was it this person? Was it that person? And so as much as we sometimes don't agree with Facebook and Meta, it seems like they did do what they were supposed to do, which was issue that cease and desist when apparently the Israeli firm Paragon Solutions had unfortunately allowed that attack to go through. So I have a real big problem with that. And, this is going to start happening more and more and more. Unfortunately, gentlemen, it's going to happen more and more. And the reason it's going to happen more and more is because of things that I feel are going to make our world, let's say, retreat a little bit. That's probably the best thing that I can tell you. So, that's a very important thing. And number 3, ladies and gentlemen, today is South Korea investigates DeepSeek AI. South Korea's privacy watchdog is taking a closer look at Chinese AI firm DeepSeek over concerns about its data handling practices. Now, this move follows similar investigations in France, Italy, and Ireland, where regulators are scrutinizing how the company collects and stores personal information. DeepSeek, known for its cost-effective AI models, is also facing allegations of using restricted AI chips, ladies and gentlemen, leading U.S. lawmakers to push for further restrictions on NVIDIA chip exports. So that's a whole other horse of a different color, but it's something we've got to be concerned about. This is why President Trump is putting all these, let's say, restrictions on, the exports. It's not just for money, but it's also for our privacy and for our security. Number 4, Meta considers leaving Delaware for Texas. Why would they do that? Well, Meta is reportedly exploring a move to reincorporate in Texas or another state, leaving behind its current home in Delaware. The decision, which follows a similar move by Tesla and SpaceX under the Elon Musk rule, is seen as a strategic effort to take advantage of Texas' business-friendly legal environment. While Meta has no plans to relocate its headquarters from California, the shift could offer tax governance benefits. So this is very, very interesting. A lot of people will form corporations in Delaware because of the rules. And, this may be something that you're not familiar with, but it's something that I think everyone should be aware of. And so that's what they're doing. When we think about the whole concept of them, reincorporating, it's pretty interesting. It's a very interesting thing. As I said, Meta is talking about moving its legal headquarters away from Delaware, according to Bloomberg. Now, they're, milling over the idea to move from a state that has built a favorable reputation among corporations for its tax benefits and lacks incorporation requirements. The social media company has talked with Texas officials regarding a potential move to the Lone Star State. The Wall Street Journal had cited unnamed people are familiar with the matter. Meta has also considered a reincorporation in other states, and it was reported, though, that it did not specify which states were up for consideration. Meta had told Forbes recently that there were no plans to move its corporate headquarters, which is located about 30 miles of San Francisco, California. So it looks like they just want to reincorporate in Texas only. That's the truth, because of the tax benefits. So you might be asking me, so, what are the tax benefits that would make Meta want to reincorporate in Texas? I mean, what are they? And I think that's an interesting thing because, has to do with the structure. And so the thing is, Delaware was always this safe state, right? But now Texas has lots of benefits for businesses to incorporate there. And some of the advantages, just to go through them, not to spend too much time. One is a favorable tax climate. You don't have to pay any tax on the money you make through your startup company in Texas. This opens the door for businesses to recruit top talent without having to worry about losing profits. So again, you don't have to pay any tax on the money you make through your startup company in Texas. The other advantage is Texas Enterprise Fund. It's called TEF. The Texas Enterprise Fund is the real advantage that can strengthen the roots of businesses, especially in terms of providing cash grants. The TEF is basically a financial incentive tool where a cash grant is provided for those projects that promise significant job creation as well as capital investment. Are there disadvantages of incorporating in Texas? Well, I'm sure there may be, but it seems like there's a lot of benefits. There are several advantages and only a few disadvantages. If you choose to incorporate your business from a sole proprietorship and then file the fee, it's a little quite steep for some. It's $300. Along with this, the process of incorporating your startup company in Texas will require more time as compared to other forms of businesses, since corporations in Texas are monitored by the state, local, and federal agencies. There's more paperwork to be done, and it has to be ensured correctly that all documents are in compliance with state regulations. So this makes some interesting questions arise. Is it better to incorporate in Texas or Delaware? Because Delaware was always the place to be, right? And people ask this question, what should I do? And I think the biggest thing is that there are a lot of interesting rules, as I mentioned to you, in Texas. And they're not things that you can just, decide overnight. While organizing your startup as a Delaware corporation might sound good now, the downside is that you might be required to double up on business organization filings later on. The filing fee to form a corporation in Delaware is based on a formula depending on how many shares and what the par value of the shares are. It may cost you a few $1,000s to form a simple corporation depending on the options you choose, while a Delaware limited liability company will only require a $110 filing fee. Texas, on the other hand, only requires a flat one-time filing fee of $300 for a corporation or limited liability company. All the Delaware requirements must be filed in addition for a Delaware corporation operating in Texas. You'll be required to file as a foreign corporation about $750 per year. So foreign entities must pay franchise taxes to both Texas and Delaware yearly. As the business grows, the cost of compliance in each state will multiply. Incorporating outside of Texas will cost more as a startup and increase as you grow. The corporate income tax in Delaware is determined by whether the income is generated in the state or outside of the state. For income generated within Delaware, the state corporate income tax is 8.70%. Income generated outside the state is generally not taxable by Delaware. Similarly, Texas does not tax income generated outside of the state and also does not levy any state income tax, even on corporations. Texas does require a franchise tax for any entity doing business in Texas on gross receipts. This entity level tax on the gross receipts has been lowered over the years to 0.75% and only applies to entities with gross receipts of more than 2.1 million in the tax year. So the primary reason you would incorporate in Delaware instead of Texas is if you anticipate raising professional venture capital funds. Outside of this possibility, a Texas business will save more money by remaining in Texas, unless you're facing a round of venture capitalists with an established set of securities firms. Stay in Texas. But again, this is just some ideas, but it seems that it's going to be definitely some interesting conversations that are going to pop from this. And Dutch regulators crack down on DeepSeek. The Netherlands Privacy Authority has launched an investigation into DeepSeek's AI data collection practices, warning users to be cautious. This follows Italy's ban on DeepSeek's app and similar action by regulators in Ireland and France. European law requires that citizens' data be stored abroad only under strict conditions, and DeepSeek's compliance is now under scrutiny. Authorities across the European Union are sharing information as they assess the company's handling of sensitive data. I wouldn't want to be in those shoes. Number 6, LinkedIn lawsuit over a training has been dismissed. AI training. Yes. The lawsuit that was originally put through for the alleged AI training was dismissed. A lawsuit accusing LinkedIn of violating user privacy by using premium members' private messages to train AI models has been dismissed. By the way, in case you didn't know, Microsoft Corporation actually owns LinkedIn. It's not a secret, but it's not easy to find that unless you go pretty far deep on their site. They don't make that very obvious. The plaintiff withdrew the case just days after filing, following LinkedIn's strong denial of any wrongdoing. LinkedIn provided evidence that it never used private messages for AI training, leading to the lawsuit's dismissal. The case had sparked concerns about AI and data privacy, but LinkedIn insists that it remains committed to transparency. So right now, it seems like there's no challenging them. But are they really being truthful? Well, unfortunately, only time will tell. But I can tell you one thing, LinkedIn and Microsoft. If you are trying to hide something, you won't be able to hide forever, because we all know what happened to Google and many of the other companies. They eventually will figure it out. And when they do, well, it won't just be some of those small fines that you can pay with your pocket change. You'll need to go into some full deep reserves of your company. So I hope for your sake, Microsoft and LinkedIn, that you're being truthful to everyone. but only time will tell. Number 7 for this week, the DOJ, the Department of Justice of the United States, sues to block the HPE Juniper merger. The United States Department of Justice is suing to block Hewlett Packard's enterprise $14 billion acquisition of Juniper Networks, arguing it would create a near monopoly in the networking equipment market alongside Cisco. HPE and Juniper argue that the deal will boost competition and innovation. But U.S. regulators are pushing back hard. While European and UK authorities have approved the deal, the legal battle in the U.S. is expected to stretch on for months. So let's talk about this for a second. It's funny, when things are going to go south for, let's say, things that would have to do with, stuff to protect them, then they suddenly, don't want to do it. But when it's not going to affect them and it might affect someone else, then they're okay with it. I mean, I just think that's like complete nonsense. But, we'll have to see what they're doing and, why they're doing it. And personally, I think the monopoly right now with Cisco is nuts. I think the HPE merger that they're trying to do, I think also would be a bad idea. HPE reminds me very similar to Amazon. It's like they want to get their hands in things. HPE is trying to become another Cisco, if you didn't know it. HPE is trying to become another Cisco. Cisco makes its money not by being the leader in the field. What you probably didn't know about Cisco is that they are very targeted at buying technology up from other companies, smaller and medium-sized companies, and then they put that under their umbrella and they pretty much gain market share. That's the secret. Well, number 8 this week, Avride rolls out food delivery robots, actually at colleges. Autonomous delivery startup Avride is teaming up with Grubhub to deploy 100 self-driving food delivery robots on U.S. college campuses. This move aims to address labor shortages, reduce delivery costs, and cut reliance on cars for short-distance orders. The partnership kicks off at Ohio State University with plans for expansion. Avride, which spun out of Russian tech firm Yandex, has already completed over 200,000 deliveries worldwide and is also working with Uber on robotic food delivery and ride-sharing projects. I don't know. I'm not sure how well that's going to go. I saw this in the very beginning, and they have this little robot, to be honest with you, that looks kind of cute looking. And so it was like, like this little white box pretty much. And so, I think it's going to have some limitations. So the Yandex spinoff is switching from 6 wheels to 4. And so Avride, the robotics company, as I said, spun out of the Russian search giant Yandex, it has this new sidewalk delivery robot to show itself off. So again, it's going to need to be on a campus. It's going to need to be somewhere. It can't obviously be, on major highways. The new robot has 4 wheels, which Avride says is more energy efficient than its 6-wheeled model. And the 6-wheel version were simple to build and could turn confidently on a variety of surfaces. But they also create a lot of friction, which ate up a lot of energy. So the new 4-wheel designs are much more efficient in their energy consumption, they say, which means they can stay in operation a lot longer before needing to be recharged. The robot's wheels are mounted on movable arms attached to a pivoting axle, which is kind of cool. And the new generation model can turn 180 degrees almost instantaneously. Think of that like turning a boat on a dime, right? Which the company actually says will improve the robot's ability to navigate narrow sidewalks and reverse out of the way for someone in a wheelchair or perhaps a stroller. The company also made improvements to the robot's control system for improved torque and updated the hardware with NVIDIA's Jetson Oregon platform. The various eye expressions not only bring the robot to life, but also create a sense of interaction for clients. Avride's new robots are being manufactured, guess where? In Taiwan, and are expected to join its Austin-based fleet in the coming days. Avride spokesperson Yulia Shukavo said the company expects to have at least 100 deployed. Basically, they're saying now by the end of January, now getting to February. So I haven't seen them, but I guess they're slowly starting to appear. Again, just because I haven't seen them doesn't mean they're not around. But they are apparently on college campuses. And I wonder if they're going to come to any campuses in New Jersey. I don't know. So you have to have the right kind of environment for this. And although I think it's an interesting concept, I do see that it can be a little bit of a disaster because, you've got to have places that are local to where you're going, right? If it's a college campus and you're trying to deliver from one side to another, I get it. There's some sense to that. But the question is this going to be something that people want, or is this going to just be another fad? I don't know. I definitely like the idea. I think it's very catchy. I like the idea that they have these, eyes that kind of interact with the clients on the street. So we'll have to see, what happens with it. We're going to have to see how it responds. And we're also going to see, is it something that's going to be profitable? I think they're also trying to roll these out like in New York in some areas because, again, there it's pretty easy. But the question is, how do you keep the robot safe, especially if it's on the street? I see just a whole complexity of challenges with this robot. I don't think it was designed to actually be on the same street that cars drive. And I think that's probably the biggest thing that I can tell you. And getting off to our 9 story, which I know you're not going to want to miss, GM, yes, General Motors, shifts their focus to Super Cruise driver assistance. After the failure of its robo-taxi division, GM is shifting its strategy to focus on Super Cruise, its hands-free driver assistance system. The company aims to generate $2 billion in annual revenue from this technology within 5 years. Super Cruise, which competes with Tesla's Autopilot, offers advanced safety features and is available on 20 GM models. Customers receive 3 years of free access before transitioning to a subscription-based model, positioning it as a high-margin revenue system. But we all know that, a lot of these manufacturers, they want you to get a new car, right? So even the one like I just got recently, they actually gave me all of my features that I could, send addresses to the car and stuff. The only thing I didn't get free is if I wanted the concierge service, which is basically allows you to press a button and then they can make reservations for you. But I have to tell you, do I really want somebody from another country like Malaysia, China, or India making a recommendation on a restaurant based on some website or script they read? I don't really think so. So we're going to have to see, what's going to happen. And I think what a lot of people are going to find out is that it's important to understand what your customer wants. And I could tell you one thing. That is something that I decided, hands down, that I did not want. I did not want it at all. And so there are 4 features, that enable the Super Cruise. Super Cruise functions with OnStar, and it uses real-time cameras, sensors, global positioning satellites, GPS, and LiDAR map data to help detect curves, helping make long drives and commutes on compatible roads more comfortable. So the Super Cruise driver assistant technology, as I said, uses these interesting features. But the question I have is, how much is it after the free trial? And that's something that they're not sharing too much. But if I had to guess, I know Tesla charges $10 a month. I think they were probably going to go somewhere around $25, $30 a month for connectivity. Tesla's full driving rated below the GM Super Cruise is $100 a month. So that could mean that they could easily charge $200. So by the time you're done with all the fees, we could be talking 220, 230 a month. Do people really want to pay fees for something? I mean, this is almost as bad as there's a car out there. I'm not sure if they still do it. There's a vehicle. You don't get your power seats unless you pay a monthly fee for them. Now, I think that's stupid. So they had introduced this concept a while back. And so, although it didn't seem like a bad idea for many people, I don't like the idea you spend all this money on a car and now you've got to pay like $10 a week to be able to use some of the features like memory seat recall, like when you go to your car, it automatically brings the steering wheel and the seat to the exact position that you pre-programmed with the fob for driver one or driver two, or maybe not being able to use the heated seat or cooling seat feature. I don't know. It's interesting. The German automaker Audi, as you know, admitted that it would be adding more paywall features to cars currently on the road. Oliver Hoffman, Audi's board rep for technical development, said, quote, "I think there's a demand from the customer to bring new functions in the car, and this is a profit pool for us." Though Hoffman's job is keeping the shareholders happy, he was very hesitant to name the features you'll soon have to pay for through the My Audi app. But here's a clue. In some markets, Audis charge extra for certain HVAC features. Now, we know that the automaker will pioneer this transition on its e-tron EVs. BMW finally backed down and ceased charging $8 a month for heated seats. I mean, come on. And $8 a year for Apple CarPlay. I mean, that's ridiculous. Even though BMW is paywalling fewer features than Audi, you still must pay $19 a month to use your BMW's existing camera as a dash cam. Really, really, BMW? So, when it comes to the Japanese automakers, Toyota is one of the worst subscription fee offenders. If you already drive a 2018 present Toyota, you're about to get hit with fees up the yin-yang for functions that were previously free. The automaker is bundling a bunch of app-based functions into its Toyota Remote Connect app and charging $8 a month or $8 a year for it all. Now, these functions include things like remote start, vehicle start alerts, valet mode, last park location reminder, and unlocking with your phone. Mercedes-Benz, a monthly fee for an app that turns your phone into a key fob or gives you OnStar roadside. That's ridiculous. Porsche has relatively standard subscription features available in its Porsche Connect phone, but unlike Toyota, you'll have to pay an extra fee for each one. For example, enabling your car's Wi-Fi hotspot is just $20 a month. Infotainment and navigation are $205 a year, and theft detection is $280. Come on, Porsche. I mean, come on. You're charging a lot for the car. Why are you trying to rip people off with subscriptions? Just because you can? So my words to the wise here is that if you are looking to lease or buy a car, make sure that you understand what's coming in that vehicle and what's not coming in that vehicle. Because I bet you're not going to be too happy if that car you spent all this money or the SUV you spent all this money on suddenly doesn't give you the function that it did after those first 30 days. And Vodafone makes the first satellite video call. This is really cool. Vodafone has achieved a major milestone by making the world's first satellite video call using a standard smartphone. The call made from a remote location with no cellular signal was enabled by AST Space Mobile's Bluebird satellites, offering speeds up to 120 megabits per second. Vodafone plans to expand this satellite network across Europe in 2025, aiming to provide full mobile connectivity in areas where traditional networks fail. So the question you're maybe asking is Vodafone, and this is a great question, is Vodafone, basically is Vodafone satellite calling available in the U.S.? And so They're working on it. It appears that it's not been directly marketed, but it'll be interesting to see what they're doing, what their plans are to use 4G and 5G smartphones. Satellites have been around for a while. Dedicated satellite phones can be a large, chunky, heavy, and expensive device. I remember my very first cell phone that I had was actually it was an NEC cell phone. Any of you guys remember those NEC cell phones? Well, they were not cheap. An NEC large, I think it was a large car or like portable cell phone costed, I'm trying to remember how much I paid for it. But again, it was not cheap. This was like this big brick that you had to carry with you. And this device, if I remember correctly, it was about $5,000. Okay. Without the installation, without the extra kits, because you had to have things like, a special hookup so that when you're away from your car, it could honk the horn, all this other garbage. So then there was Motorola that had one. I remember my dad had one that he got, and he locked himself out, and then I had to reprogram the phone because he somehow locked the phone. And because this phone would go with you, it wasn't like in the car. First of all, people could steal it. And second of all, it was not digital, it was analog. So people could clone the information very easily. We have New York City very close to us. And back when cell phones were only analog, they had people sitting literally outside the tunnels, and they'd be there ready to grab your signal. And so I would get back home, and usually within a day or two, I would get my bill, which would usually be, one fee. Well, the next time I got my bill, which would be a couple weeks later, my bill went up by like $5,000. And I was like, but I only went here, I went to the city, I came back, bam. Yeah, that's the time when everybody was charging lots of money for roaming calls. Of course, I got it reversed, but it was a complete hassle to do this. And so I must have gotten cloned so many times. I was so pleased when cell phones went digital. All right. But it'll be very interesting to see, what Bluebird's satellites are going to do. And again, they're only offering speeds up to 120 megabits per second. Now, you might say, gee, John, that's not good. And you're right. It's not good. But here's the thing. You have to realize that they're now doing a service through a satellite. And using satellites, let's face it, that is not cheap. If we had to guess, how much does it cost to make a call via satellite, it's not cheap. It is not cheap. You're talking anywhere from, let's say, $4.50 a minute. And there's some providers like AT&T that charge as much as $11.49 per minute. Now, that's without all the other nonsense. The other thing you might want to ask me is, how much is a 411 call on a satellite? You don't want to know. Every call, okay, per minute starts at $4.50. And they now charge, if I remember correctly, so Verizon charges, I think it's $2 for 411 now. I think that's what they're charging. I don't use it. And then now they want to raise it for 411, directory assistance. So, I remember when you used to get so many free, they went up. It's actually $2.99 that Verizon charges for directory assistance. And I don't know. I think that's crazy. And so imagine you making phone calls. And then the thing I hated with the directory assistance was you'd call is like, you would give it your, they would say business or residence. So I'd say business name and listing. So I would say, or business name and city or whatever it was. So I would say whatever it was in the city. And then I would either get the automated recording, saying the number you have dialed is to automatically be completed to this, transferred to this number for no additional charge, press 1. And then they started saying to be transferred to this call for an additional 50 cents, press this. I'm like, for what? So I quickly discovered a new way to get numbers. You could do it from your phone when you're parked safely, or you could just dial 1-800-FREE-411. So 1-800-FREE-411 is a free call. The company actually makes its money by having you listen to a short advertisement before the call gets transferred. That's how they work. Here's something that I think is going to blow your mind. Now, many of us are gamers. I love to play games, and I'm sure you do too. Or you have friends or family members or kids that love to play games. Imagine sitting at your game and having that game give off a scent. I'm not kidding you. A smell-based gaming immersion research. At the Warwick University, researchers are developing technology that integrates scents into video games to enhance realism. Come on. So their custom-made headsets release scents like petrol, rubber, or even new car smell during gameplay, creating a more immersive experience, they say, for racing and simulation games. While previous attempts at smell-based gaming failed, this new system can switch between scents quickly, opening the door for commercial applications. I see this going a lot further. I mean, this can get into kid games. This can get into things that literally can have you smell certain food. I mean, there's lots of potentials with this. We knew that we were at a 1D world, then a 2D world, now a 3D world. We're moving into a 5D world where we now have the ability to probably even get things like proportionality of where you are, feelings with sensors. We remember going to Disney, and I remember the first time I went to A Bug's Life, and literally the bugs were coming out of the, let's say, the chair you were sitting in, which are basically like a little plastic thing that you felt hitting the back of your leg or butt. And that was just very eerie. Another time you're sitting in the front and then the bug basically sprayed you. It was like an air, but it smelled terrible. So this is not new, but I think they're trying to get people to game in a different way. And I imagine that this is going to probably be a very profitable thing. Now, here's something I don't know if you know. Casinos spend how much a month on piping in scents to their venue? This will blow your mind. Are you ready? Yes. So casinos use scents to keep you relaxed and gambling longer. There's a science behind scent marketing and the practice of using scents to influence consumer behavior, known as scent marketing, is not exclusive to casinos. Stores, hotels, and even car dealerships have used pleasant aromas to create a specific atmosphere or enhance the customer experience. Think about when maybe you went to buy a home, or maybe you were selling your home, and the realtor said to put an apple pie in the oven or something like that. So that made somebody feel really good. There was a well-known experiment conducted by Dr. Alan Hirsch of the Smell and Taste Treatment and Research Foundation in Chicago, and demonstrated the potential impacts of scents on casino behavior. Hirsch found out the effects of scent on gamblers in Las Vegas by introducing a pleasant smell into certain areas of the casino and leaving other areas unscented really affected things. The results were pretty incredible. The areas with the pleasant aroma saw a significant increase in slot machine revenue and an increase of around 45% compared to the unscented areas. So why do scents work? Scents have a direct connection to the brain's limbic system, which is responsible for emotions and memory. And this means that a specific smell can trigger emotional responses that may influence behavior. For example, a relaxing lavender scent might help you reduce anxiety. Doctors' offices, hospitals are doing this. Alternatively, a fresh citrus smell might energize players and keep them alert and engaged. Casinos understand this connection, and they even pipe in certain things from like the Orient that have a very strong smell. They spend anywhere from 5,000 to 20,000, and some even more. So, do casinos use scents to keep you gambling longer? Based on the available evidence, it appears to be more fact than fiction. Scent marketing is a powerful tool that casinos use to enhance the gaming experience and potentially, yes, increase revenue, or at least improve the mood of their patrons. And what does that do? Makes you want to spend more money. While it may not be something that every player is consciously aware of, the impact of scent on emotions and behavior is very well documented. And I think we need to be aware. I remember going to the casino. I'm not a gambler, and I remember going there, and I remember just going there and just playing to lose like $20 or $50. And suddenly I remember being very alert and awake. And I said, I know what this is. They're piping scents in. And a friend of mine was actually selling these scents. They do this now in a lot of retail stores. Why do they do this? Because you're going to buy more, right? There's a company out there, the Scent Air system. Disney does this. And so it's very interesting. Disney uses something they call it smellalizers. So the park smells very good. Maybe you've tried to figure out what makes Disney parks smell so good. Well, it's really interesting. If you've ever been to any Disney parks around the world, you probably whiff popcorn along Main Street, or maybe you caught the scent of burning as you passed by Rome on Spaceship Earth. Whatever smells you sniff, you might be wondering how Disney creates these. And it's interesting. They have something called the Disney Smellitizer. They're essentially systems of pressurized air mixed with a fan system, and that pump sends through the parks. But there's way more to these nifty machines than first meets the eye, and I'd like to share this with you. So one other thing that they have is Disney Smellitizers aren't so much a thing as they are a process that involves airflow, pressurizing, and exhaust systems. So creating scents at Disney is important, as it is essentially bringing about a feeling of nostalgia. Smellitizers combine a strong smelling substance that smells like popcorn or something else with a powerful source of air. And the air has to be moving in a pressurized way, like a powerful fan. The action from this propels the scent toward the guest, while an exhaust sucks it back in. And this means the smell won't get contaminated or lost. You smell these scents during shows like Philharmonic, The Muppets, Vision 3D. So it's important that Imagineers get the right things to you. Believe it or not, Disney has tested over 3,000 scents before landing on the final ones. How do they really work? Disney keeps their smelling technology under wraps, as you can imagine. The smellitizer relies on a reservoir of scented liquid that flows through a compressor air inlet. And it's then pushed in front of a special fan. This then flows through the canopy of the ride or areas, and the mechanism before being drawn toward the guest. So, Disney smellitizers, the most magical science on Earth. Disney feeds the smells into a nozzle that's connected to a reservoir upstream of the nozzle of 65 to 70, roughly. Okay. And then they use compressed air that's fed into the system, which pulls the scented material from the reservoir and pushes it through a nozzle and toward a fan. The air moves, the scented air will then pass through the fan and out toward the gap in the system. After it's released, they instantly get that amazing smell, and it's fed back. Before it's all over, the exhaust pulls the scented air back to reduce the contamination before the process starts all over again. This is pretty amazing. So there are many companies that offer professional scent air systems. And so they're not terribly expensive, but one of them is AirScent, and there's lots of them out there. And you can buy these for your home, and they have catalogs of, different fragrances. In fact, there's certain fragrances that are only available to the business subscription. Well, number 12, AI-generated fake content misleads U.S. teens. A new study by Common Sense Media reveals that 35% of American teens have been misled by AI-generated fake content, while 41% encountered real but misleading information. The rise of AI-generated videos, images, and deep fake news is fueling distrust in big tech, with many teens admitting they unknowingly shared false content. The study highlights the urgent need for better content verification and transparency on social media. AI-powered deepfake scams are on the rise. AI-powered social engineering attacks are becoming more sophisticated, from deepfake political recording, swaying elections, to AI-generated ransom calls mimicking family members. Cybercriminals are using AI to manipulate victims, get into bank accounts. That's why I always tell people, don't record your voice as a password voice print. They're using AI to manipulate victims. Other scams include AI chatbots stealing login credentials and deepfake impersonations, tricking employees into wiring millions to fraudsters. And these cases highlight the growing risk of AI-driven cybercrime, and it's getting worse every day. Global cybercrime forums shut down. Law enforcement agencies from multiple countries have now shut down several major hacking forums, including Cracked and Nulled, which facilitated cybercrime operations. And these platforms had millions of users. And they were the key hubs for selling stolen data, hacking tools, and malware. And the international operation, which led to multiple arrests and seizures of cryptocurrency and illegal funds. It's part of a broader effort to curb cyber crime. So I think this comes back to the fact that we need to be cognizant about our information. We need to understand who we're sharing it with, why we're sharing it. I think these are very important things to understand. And if we don't understand that, then we're going to have a problem. We're definitely going to have a problem. So if we're aware, I think that is probably the best thing I can tell you. Being aware is the key, okay? It definitely is the key. And so when we think about, the fact that these no-gooders do this stuff, so they're going to do it whether you are aware or whether you're not aware. And so I think if you're aware of it, at least you can, change your behaviors. And our thoughts basically cause our behaviors to go one way or another. The reason why a lot of these bad actors are so successful is because nobody is stopping them. That's probably the biggest thing that I can tell you right now. Nobody is stopping them. So we need to grab the bull by the horns, and we need to start understanding that the data we feed into AI systems, okay, the data we feed in, we need to understand who's using that system, what they're doing with it, why they're using it, and are they selling it to anybody? I think these are all very, very important things to realize. And so just like when I talk to you about the casinos and using, is what they're doing illegal? No. But the fact that I've told you now that there are systems in place, there's even certain audio in place that'll actually make you want to gamble more. Is that illegal? No, it's not illegal. It's just a way of changing our behavior. Now, if I had to think about that, I'd say that it's kind of manipulating us, right? So if you're aware that this is happening, and suddenly you notice that you don't like to gamble, but now you suddenly want to gamble so much, you should ask yourself a question. Why am I suddenly so compelled to gamble when I usually hate gambling? And what I'm going to tell you is that there's something in the environment, something you may or may not be aware of. That's the truth. That is the bottom line. You may not want to hear that, but you have to realize that there are things out there that are going to be used to exploit you. There's the sense systems. I told you about that. The limbic system is very powerful. We all know that if you go to Music Park and you smell cotton candy or you smell funnel cake and you like funnel cake, and you smell that again, all those nostalgia feelings are going to rush back. When you go to a fun house and, all those different smells come in. Some smells give us fear. Some smells give us pleasure. So when we know that this happens, at least we have the ability and the choice to stay in it or not. So if I'm at a restaurant and suddenly I know that I like to eat ice cream, but I had, let's say, 2 scoops of ice cream. Suddenly I want to order another one. Like, wait a minute. Wait, that's more than I normally eat. Why am I doing this? There's something in this environment. This isn't like me to want to eat again. So this happens with certain foods. Did you know that? Yes. There are certain companies that put ingredients in food to make you want to eat more. Basically, what does it do? It makes them addictive to you. So foods are packed with added sugar and salt triggers the brain's reward system, setting a cycle of craving and addiction. And when there's too much of that, well, the body goes on overload. So we've got to be the governor and saying, look, this isn't the way my body normally functions. Why is this happening? What am I doing? And that's the real key, ladies and gentlemen. That is the key. Well, we covered a lot here today. And artificial intelligence in itself is not good. It's not bad. It is a tool, and how we choose to use it that makes it so. If we understand that all the technology in our world can either help us or hurt us, depending on its application, then we're a lot smarter than most. But the reason that we fall victim or guilty to this is because we just see and feel the pleasure that we don't realize what's going on. Like if you go to a donut shop and suddenly you're eating so many donuts, what's going on? Well, you're smelling all the donuts, right? And that can be a huge, huge problem. Same thing happens, ladies and gentlemen, with social media. Why do kids and even adults keep going back and they scroll? Well, they get this high. Oh my gosh, I got this like. I got this like. Oh, this is amazing. This is amazing. Oh my gosh, I feel really good. And so I think maybe you can understand that is causing you to respond like, oh my gosh, I got to go check my phone. I got to go see if somebody liked my post. It's okay to do that, but when it becomes addictive, then that's a serious problem. Ladies and gentlemen, you know who I am by now. I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur. It's always such a privilege, and it's always such a pleasure to be with you here on the JMOR Tech Talk Show, as well as many of my other shows. So JMOR Tech Talk airs every Friday night, but you can always catch it on lots of different places that we have it, like believemeachieve.com. We're on many different cable stations. And I would invite you to definitely check this out because our show will give you the insights so you can use technology smarter and wiser. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your night and a fantastic weekend. And when it comes to technology, remember, it's a tool. And how you choose to use it will make it good or make it bad. Let's make sure we always use it for the right reasons.